Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everybody.
Did you forget where we were?
Well, I didn't know if I was going to do something different with the intro, like welcome back to committee. I don't know. Whatever. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a day.
It has. We were just having a few technical difficulties. That's why we're a few minutes late. But I think we've got it sorted, so hopefully we're good to go.
Well, depends on whatever your definition by sorted is. Everything's going to be working for you guys, no problem at all. We can say that with utter confidence. So
we had to jerry-rig something together on our end, but I think we'll be okay.
So, yeah, it's these Bluetooth headsets that sometimes they want to work and sometimes they don't. So it's great. Let's see. Bare Bones says no live stream tonight. NP notice. Okay, what? Just because we're a couple of minutes behind. So I guess that's the benefit of everyone, getting used to our punctuality. So anyway, it is what it is. So we have 491 in and 294 likes. People are ringing the doorbell on the way in. That's good to see. Keep that up, everybody. So before we get to anything, let's get to ground rules.
So the ground rules are the same as always. Number one, please respect each other in the chat and the platform. That means the folks on the screen, whether it's us or the folks we're talking about, we want to rip apart what they're saying, not who they are. Number two is no spamming, selling, or soliciting in the chat. And number three is please use parliamentary language, no cussing, no swearing, no name calling, etc. We like to keep the chat a friendly, welcoming environment for everybody. And our moderator tonight is Juster. He's going to help us do that. So please cooperate with Juster and let's make this a great chat.
Well, and that's the thing. We have the benefit of actually having kids watching our live streams now and our shows. So speak as if you would around your own kids. Now, some of you are a little bit more liberal around your own kids. Excuse the pun saying liberal. But, let's just try and keep it clean. But for 99.9% of it, the chat is amazing. So I would just say keep doing what you're doing, guys. You are you're doing it right. Now let's get into some of the pre-chat activity from everybody. Thank you. So William Carlton was first in with a NP supporter membership. Thank you very much for that. Jilly Beans with a $2 super chat. Ding dong. There you go.
That's right. Ring that doorbell.
Barbara Gruber, welcome to NP supporter. Thank you very much. Goko Donnie with 5 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much. Nick Fiddler with a $2.79 super chat. Jarsha, haven't seen you in a little bit, with a $5 super chat. When you talked last live about people turning their back on Trudeau, I thought of the Klingon discommendation ceremony, all Lib MPs turning their backs. Funny enough, I was just talking about possibly
Klingons?
doing a meme where Commander Riker is talking about the Klingon food gach, because it's kind of like GAC, gach. So it's funny you started this off with a Star Trek reference, but yes, it would be great if Trudeau had a discommendation ceremony from his entire cabinet. That would be great. And another $5 from Jarsha, maybe throw in a little ode in, "You are unworthy of this title. You unworthy! We now take away your power and cast you out!" I can't do an Anthony Hopkins voice, but I can do a me voice. Goko Donnie with a $2 super chat. Good evening, NP Nation. Alan Bowerly with a $5 super chat in a Bane voice. Let the games begin.
That's pretty good.
So hopefully that was good enough. Humble Tracker with a $10 super chat. Would NP allow me to use the logo of NP to place on my tailgate of my new truck, since my old one was crushed by a tree? Oh, crap.
Oh, no.
And new one is coming home next week. I say logo, I mean the mountains. I think we will enable you to be able to use that, because we have something in the works for some additional swag that everybody can get. So stay tuned on that. Heather Dawn Valley... Heather Dawn Valle Mantica, I hope Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much. Welcome to NP Supporter Plus. Glad to have you aboard. Trish Pearl with 10 gifted Northern Perspective memberships, as well as Humble Tracker with another 10. Thank you so much, both of you. And if you are a recipient of a gifted membership, please give those people a thank you. Paladin Phil, member for 8 months. I have never seen a live chat start on time. You two are keeping up the YouTube tradition in that sense. Hey, we're usually start on time.
We're usually pretty good. We actually are usually pretty good. We did have the technical difficulties tonight. We try to start on time. We try to be like butts in chairs at about 10 minutes before the stream starts, which we were. We just couldn't get our equipment to work properly.
Yeah. And it's new too. That's the
problem thing. Is we don't know.
I was using unparliamentary language before the stream started.
Yes, he was.
Enjoy watching you two and your political commentary. Thank you very much. Bubble Avenue with a 279 super chat. 4 score and 2 gates deep. Let's go. Yeah, gates. And Jilly Beans with a $2 super chat. Bumper stickers, maybe. We'll see. We're working on it.
We're cooking some stuff up.
We're working on it. Cast Awakening with a $5 super chat. Lay the Star Trek memes on us. I think there is a few of us fans in the crowd. I'm sure there's a few at least.
That's good, because we were kind of debating before the live stream about the GAC thing, and we're like, well, is anybody really Trekkie fans, or is anybody gonna recognize it or appreciate it? I don't know.
But in all fairness, we use Futurama memes, so
yeah, but those are for me.
There you go. Rick Robitaille with a $10 super chat. Kids don't like the Trudeau effect. No, they don't. And adults don't either. And Humble Tracker says, with a $10 super chat, thank you. We'll make sure that logo is obvious. There you go. Excellent. And thank you to all of you who have sent us just pictures of you wearing the swag. It's surreal seeing our logo on other people.
It makes us really excited, because, like, I guess when we started YouTube, one of the things that we didn't really anticipate was that we would build a community, and it's fantastic. We get so excited when we see people out in the wild, and when you guys send us our pictures, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. So thank you everybody who has made a purchase, and for those of you that can't, thank you for just being here, giving it a like, giving it a watch, giving it a share. That's how a community grows. So thank you for contributing. Okay, so I think we're a bit ready to go. So as if you saw our pre-live stream video about Mr. Tom Clark, or the lack thereof, he has ditched our committee today, but the Conservatives aren't really going to let that fly, because they said that they would summon him back if they had to. And Tony and I were talking about this. Ministers, thou cannot summon. Consular Generals, thou can.
I guess you can, yeah. Now, before we continue, I did forget one rule, which is a weeknight rule for a weeknight committee live stream, is that unfortunately we won't be able to address general questions in the chat, but you can save those questions for Sunday, when we'll be doing our weekly Sunday live stream, and we would be happy to answer them then. Also, Jester is here in the chat, and he loves talking politics, so if you have something you want to bounce off him, just make sure you tag him.
And we've had these questions before about why we do this. It's actually to reduce the length of the live streams.
Because, as you know, some of them can go like 5+ hours.
So we actually we put the super chat, call it the barrier, in place to cut down on the amount of questions that we can field, and that significantly reduces the length of the live stream, because not all of us want to be here for about 5 or 6 hours, even though it is a lot of fun. Sleep comes early. So hopefully that gives everybody a bit of a context. And Irma Oksanen with a $10 super chat. Thank you very, very much for that. If you wanted to say something or ask anything with that, please tag Jester. Or if you just wanted to send $10 our way, thank you very much for that. And Sean with a $14 super chat. In the blue corner, Larry. Okay, in the blue corner, Larry the Destroyer of Liberals. Brock in the red corner, that guy who stole $9 million from Canadians. Star Trek fan, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. There you go. Okay.
Awesome.
So apparently there's more than a few Star Trek fans here. All right.
So I guess that gives you your answer for your meme.
There you go.
All right.
Now I need to make it. Dawes 1997, member for 2 months. Keep the likes up. Guys, also thanks for everything you do. It's good to see people wanting to show the truth of what's going on behind the doors. Absolutely. Regardless of party and regardless of what that truth is. The thing about truth is sometimes it's really hard to hear because sometimes it conflicts with what you want to be true. And that's where we say when we have to start open up the closets of the Conservatives, if and when that happens after they take government, it's going to be difficult. We're not going to like it, but we're going to do it.
Like I said, it's going to break my heart, but it needs to be done because that's how we hold our government officials to account. If we just ignore them and be like, well, I like that guy, so I'm not going to say anything about it. They get away with stuff and then Canadians suffer as a result, and that's not okay.
There you go. And Norm Nicholson, member for 13 months. 13. There you go. Ryan and Tanya, Canada loves you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Norm.
Humble Tracker with a $10 super chat, planning a trip to Ontario, and maybe we can hook up. I'll buy dinner and we can talk. Having you at Area 51. Sadly, place has changed with the rain, but still. Sure, let us know when you're coming, Humble Tracker. That would be great. We would love to meet up for dinner.
Slip us an email.
And there we go.
Speaking of emails, we did some stuff on the back end. I don't really know what because I'm not very technical.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed for you guys, but hopefully, our emails will not get caught in your spam filter anymore.
Because there's still people out there, and maybe, I'm not sure the best way for me to even go about this, but there's still people that haven't gotten back to me. I want to ship you your NP gear, but I cannot because I need a physical address. I can't ship it to a P.O. box, unfortunately. So check your spam filters, check your junk. And there's one person, I believe his name's Mitch. Hopefully you're on the live stream, you're watching this afterwards. Check your email. We actually made all these email changes specifically for this purpose. So hopefully not have our stuff caught in people's spam and everything like that. So there we are. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me make sure that this is showing right. Oh.
No, I need to move over here, I guess.
Let's see. Making sure that this... Oh, look at that. It is showing. Isn't it nice when a plan comes together?
The one time we're not having technical difficulties with the video. It's usually the sound, though. It is usually the sound.
It's usually. So, 100,000 subs party. We're trying to do something neat for this. We have a couple of things in mind.
It's just going to be which one comes to fruition.
Yeah, so we'll see. And Timothy Kennedy with a $5 super chat. Release the Brockinator. Time to chew on those $9 million frauds. Yeah, so who are you going to be hearing from today is the company that the government, or rather GACH, Global Affairs Canada, actually employed to do the appraisal of said building, and the real estate firm, by the sounds of it, that actually assisted them with the transactions. So that will be what we see. Annie Jung with a $10 super chat. I'm a 7th month member. Thank you both for your amazing channel. Love and light. Thank you so much for that, Annie. Really, really appreciate that. Okay. And we're short about 500 likes. Let's get that up, everybody. And without further ado, let's get into the mighty OGO, the only committee that matters. And as sometimes he says, the committee was so nice, they named it twice.
Order. Welcome to meeting number 136, House of Commons Standing Committee on Government Operations and Estimates, fondly known as the mighty OGO. Before we start, colleagues, I'd like to read you just a quick note that we received from our clerk this morning from Global Affairs. Says, good morning, Mr. Clark's staff has confirmed that he would be pleased to make himself available to appear before the committee September 4th or September 12th, if these dates could work or will work with them. If not, we can find another date after he returns from his leave, September 3rd. So, colleagues, if it's okay with everyone here, I'll seek UC to leave it with myself and the clerk to either work on September 12th for his appearance or at a later regular OGO date. Perfect. I'll assume we have consent. Thanks everyone for that. And
So just a procedural thing. What Macaulay just did is when he said, "I'm seeking UC to allow himself to kind of coordinate this." UC is unanimous consent. So if the committee gives unanimous consent, then there's not really any need for a vote. There's not need for a motion. It's just something procedural that they can do in order to move something along, and it's usually something very trivial. But sometimes there are people that say no just to be a pain in the rear. So in this case, I think the Liberals know that they can't really stop Tom Clark from coming, so they might as well just say fine, and let Macaulay and the clerk schedule it. So that's what UC is, unanimous consent, and he referred to it at the end. Now that we have consent, so just something procedure for everybody to know. But you'll hear the term or the acronym UC very often in any committee or in Parliament, because sometimes they ask for unanimous consent in Parliament to table documents as well.
Or to make changes to Hansard, like Karina Gold wanted.
Right. Anyway, off we go. Actually, one little piece of administrative business, and that was from Emthis. Member for 11 months. Now that I'm free to express my own opinions, aka released, I will definitely add a Black Mac version of your logo to my black truck. There you go.
Awesome.
Okay.
thank you, Mr. Clark, for clearing that up for us. We will now go to our two witnesses who are appearing virtual. I understand we have opening statements from both of them. So we'll start with Mr. Miller, please. Go ahead. The floor is yours for 5 minutes. I'm afraid you're muted, Mr. Miller.
We're not the only ones having technical difficulties.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much for the opportunities to speak with you today. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of Parliament. I appreciate the opportunity to brief you on the New York City real estate market. I have been a real estate appraiser based in New York City for the past 38 years. As co-founder of the valuation firm Miller Samuel, our clients include domestic and international financial institutions, law firms, consulting firms, developers, co-op boards, condo associations, managing agents, individuals, government agencies, and federal, New York State, and New York City courts. I'm a New York State certified appraiser and have appraised more than 8,000 residential properties, most of them in Manhattan. In addition, as a U.S. housing market analyst, I have authored research studies in roughly 50 U.S. housing markets, including the New York City metro area. I hold the Counselors of Real Estate designation, am an Appraiser A member of the Real Estate Board of New York, and was a two-term president of RAC, a national appraisal organization specializing in providing valuation solutions for complex residential properties. In 2023, I testified in Washington, D.C. at the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA, the regulator of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, in front of the appraisal subcommittee. For the past 3 decades, my market research has been relied on by the media, financial institutions, and government agencies, including the Federal Reserve, the Internal Revenue Service, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the New York City Office of Management and Budget, and the New York State Budget Division Economic Advisory Board. I co-authored a research paper for New York University School of Law and the NYU Wagner Graduate School of Public Services Furman Center for Real Estate and Urban Policy, titled The Condominium versus Cooperative Puzzle, an Empirical Analysis of Housing in New York City. And that was published in the Journal of Legal Studies at the University of Chicago. I also teach market analysis as an adjunct associate professor of architecture, planning, and preservation at the Master of Science in Real Estate Development program at Columbia University. I am a New York State real estate instructor for both qualifying and continuing education courses, and serve on the New York City Mayor's Economic Advisory Panel representing the residential real estate sector. Within my research, Manhattan co-ops and condos represent about 98% of residential sales activity on the island.
So, committee started off loud, and of course the parliamentary sound guys decided to do their thing. So I will be seeing if I can adjust that volume for everybody. and hopefully I don't blow all our eardrums off. So we'll
Yeah,
see
I
how
hope
that goes. It sounds like, which is reasonable to expect somebody that's coming in that's a witness of this type. He's basically saying, here's my resume. I'm an expert. You can trust what I say. My credentials are impeccable. Please don't challenge me. That's kind of what I get from this.
Well, I think it's fair to challenge him, but I think it's also fair to expect that he's going to give you the truth. He has no incentive to lie. He's not related to the government. He's not related to Trudeau. He's not related to Tom Clark in any manner. I mean, this guy's just here to testify.
Well, he's here.
He's like an expert witness, right? In a court of law, you typically hire an expert witness, and they come in and they tell you what they know.
Well, and it's in his best interest to get out of this engagement with minimal scarring, I will say, because it could affect his future business relationships down south, right? So it's a higher profile committee, and if you're caught lying, or if you're caught that you were doing some shady things, that can impact your business relationships for sure. So we'll see what happens. Let's see, Casper H jumping in with 10 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much, and it's great to see you, sir.
Since I began my professional practice in 1986, the housing market has undergone significant change with an expanding condominium market and a weakening co-op market. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. We'll now go to Mr. Elliman. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Over to you for 5 minutes. Or sorry, Mr. Abos. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
No worries. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of Parliament. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this hearing this morning. My name is Thomas Obo. I'm a real estate agent with Douglas Elliman, a U.S.-based real estate firm. We're founded in 1917. Along with my team, the Aaron Boisson Areas team, I support a diverse group of clients on real estate transactions in New York and elsewhere. It's our job to source and dispose of real property based on client needs and criteria. In this role, we provide expert guidance, market analysis, as well as marketing, purchasing, and sales advisory. We frequently participate in solicitations and RFPs. In April of 2024, we were awarded a contract and started work to support the Global Affairs Canada's initiative to secure a new official residence in New York for the Government of Canada. As you may be aware, New York City is one of the most dynamic and highest value real estate markets in the world. Midtown, a central part of Manhattan, is considered the business and diplomatic center of New York City, exemplified by an above-average concentration of international residents and organizations, and anchored by the UN headquarters on the East River. Midtown receives heavy investment from foreign governments. Traffic and logistics of a metropolis necessitates that organizations seeking active participation in trade must be located in or near the area. To mention a few, recent transactions include the British government investing $16 million, the French investing $14 million, Qatari investing $45 million, while the governments of New Zealand and Denmark both invested between $8 and $10 million. And I'll supply all these numbers in Canadian dollars as well at the end. To our knowledge, there is no major foreign government, and certainly none in the G20, that doesn't have meaningful real property investments for public representation in Midtown within 15 minutes of the UN. The 57th Street corridor in Midtown, that's been talked about a fair bit at these hearings, is colloquially referred to as Billionaire's Row because the area is home to rarefied residences overlooking Central Park in super tall skyscrapers built within the last decade. This includes penthouses with selling prices commanding from $40 to well over $100 million. Of course, like all of New York City, the 57th Street area is also a diverse real estate ecosystem. The neighborhood includes studio apartments that sell for under $1 million. The average price per square foot in this area, which is a common measure of value in New York real estate, is $1,749 per square foot.
Oof.
How nice that he said you can get a studio apartment for under $1 million.
Isn't it common that, like, if you're renovating or something, they say it's usually around $100 a square foot? Or am I making up numbers again?
It all depends. It really does. And it depends on the jurisdiction you're in and all of that. So, like if you're in a more rural setting, the cost per square foot significantly goes down. If you're in, downtown New York, it's going to be a lot more.
No, but I just mean like for your average home in Canada? Like, I get it's going to vary based on if you're in the city or if you're rural or where you live in the country, but I thought we had that discussion once.
Well, it's something that I actually knew the answer to about 6 months ago, but it has gone out
It
of
has
my
escaped you.
head because I dove into it once and then that was it.
All right. Well,
But
can we say that $1,000 a square foot or whatever figure?
It's excessive.
Yeah, it is excessive.
You know what's
Okay.
also excessive? Look behind this guy. So that's a nice house.
Yeah.
Just
or
saying.
apartment or wherever he is. I mean, you can see like the trim work on the ceiling. Like,
You can see where the kitchen starts on the
Yeah.
left there, and the wide drawers, and the hearth and the fireplace on the right. And I'm not,
looks like marble in the fireplace. Do you see it?
yeah, I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying.
Like, that's nice stuff. Yeah. Maybe he's on Billionaires Row.
Well, for a guy to say like, oh well, don't worry, this is all, this is par for the course, affordable. Yeah, you want it to be par for the course because you are making lots and lots of money with a single real estate transaction down there. So,
Well, and
yeah.
I think when you live in luxury, that's kind of like your new normal. So you see luxurious apartments as like, oh yeah, well that's normal. Of course you would have that for a consul general.
Yeah. Anyway, making sure I didn't miss anything. I think I may have missed one here. So, we do have. I may have had one of the memberships drop off. Who's that?
Yeah, so we have Saharsh Baronkar gifting 5 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much. If you receive one, make sure you say thank you, please.
And Goko Dani with a $2 super chat says the guy in a room worth more than an Audi R8. Okay, so it's
So
not just us.
yeah.
All right, keep talking, sir.
To support the OGO's effort here today, I thought it would be helpful to detail the process we undertook with Global Affairs to secure the new official residence. As you can imagine, researching and evaluating properties is a deliberate process tailored to every client's needs. In this case, our client provided very specific criteria. This included a minimum of 3 bedrooms plus a den, accessibility compliance, proximity to both the Canadian mission and the UN, detailed security specifications not located in a co-op.
Stone tapestries. Did they want tapestries?
Jeweled onyx bathrooms. Come on.
That was way far down the requirements, probably.
A price point desired below $9 million, and offering separation between living quarters and where public duties take place. Further, the location and building should be attractive for these public functions to be well attended, and building management accommodating for such duties to be performed frequently.
Ah, there it is. There it is. The building and location should be attractive for people to want to come over and participate in these events. There it is.
Right, because I mean, we can't have them slumming it up in that old place on Park Avenue now, can we?
Or slumming it up in that $1 million studio apartment. Can't have that. Paula Park with a $28 super chat. We just built a new house at the cost of $210 per square foot. Yeah,
There we go.
I think that kind of jogs my memory. I think what I was looking at, it was between it was between $150 and $200 a square foot is the contractor I was talking to. So that may have jogged my memory. Thank you very much for that.
Given these parameters, we presented 39 properties for consideration. The initial list was narrowed down to 21 properties in 7 neighborhoods for in-person visitation. After 3 days of visits, a final list of 4 properties remained. 2 were nominated for further consideration. One of these finalists did not pass a second security and design review, leaving, by process of elimination, the unit in the landmark portion of 111 West 57th Street.
Okay, come
This
on.
sounds just like GC Strategies. Oh, well, there was 2, but one we couldn't use, so we had to use the other.
Yeah, just it was just...
Make-
It was the only one left.
You know what? Again, this guy doesn't really have a reason to lie to committee, right?
Yeah, the way he's making
So,
the sound
I
is...
know. I mean, again, he's considered, I guess we could use the term expert witness, because he has nothing to do with Trudeau or Tom Clark or OGO or Canadian government or anything. He he is like the expert that they had gone to for his assistance. So
Well, he's the realtor, right?
yeah. So I would think that he's going to be truthful. I would hope that he's going to be truthful because he doesn't have a reason to lie.
I don't know. I don't get a good vibe from this guy. I'm just saying. But
I mean-
hopefully he is. Hopefully. I guess we're going to find out real soon. Real soon. But, you know, the thing that...
But he's a sales guy, right? He's a realtor. He's a sales guy, so he's always going to pitch it in the best light.
I noticed he kept smiling, though, when he was like, wow, when we looked at these 21 properties. I'm like, you're just grinning about the commission that you got.
Yeah,
like, hold
maybe.
on. So let's say he got standard commission, you know, appears between...
2.5% is typical.
Well,
but
yeah.
I don't know what it is in the States, right? It could be different.
Well, let's just assume it's 2.5%. So 2.5% of, I think it was $8.6 million. So he made 215 grand off
Wow.
of that.
That was like pretty much the price of our very first house.
Yeah, just saying. $215,000 if it was a 5% commission split between the two realtors.
Wow.
If that's the way it works down there. Austin Gauthier with 20 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much for that, Austin. And I'm sure everybody else is very grateful as well.
Thank you.
Jason Barrett with a $2 super chat. Did Matthew McConaughey change careers?
Nice.
He doesn't have the twang. And Nillik with a $5 super chat. Amazing how we used to get angry about overpriced orange juice, and now overspending is justified while laying on the equivalent of a pile of gold.
Hey, I never said it was justified. I just said I don't think this guy's lying because he doesn't really have an incentive to lie.
And Humble Tracker with a 10 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very, very much. Okay, let's... Nillik with a $2 super chat. If he's the realtor, then he got his payoff. Oh, and I believe they do ask him what he got in his commission.
Okay, so let's find out.
A building that will celebrate its 100th year next year, having been completed in 1925. This entire process was overseen by Global Affairs Canada, visiting New York City from Ottawa. With the selection process completed, negotiations with the seller to achieve the best possible price was supported by the unit being the last available residence in this landmark section. A choice location, but looking out on 57th Street and not over Central Park. The residence was purchased at a 40% discount against original asking price, 10% off the last asking price.
Okay. Let's reflect on that for a minute. So, 40%. So, they spent $8.6 million on this thing. And, oh my goodness, I can't type. And, so, oh my goodness. Okay, so, what were we going to be selling the old building for? What's it on the market for?
13 point something million.
Well, it's interesting because that means the original asking price of this property that they bought was $13.7 million. So that tells me
they're not getting 13 point whatever million.
Yeah, that tells me they're not going to get their $13 million.
Especially in like the older part of town, right?
Just saying.
Interesting. Wait, before we continue, I saw at least one person asking why they haven't gotten a membership yet. Go to this link that I'm going to pin at the top of the chat and make sure that it's turned on. You cannot receive memberships if you don't have it turned on. Also, you cannot receive memberships if you have a brand account, unfortunately.
Coming to a $1,750 per square foot after concessions, this is by far the lowest price in the building. It is 70% less than peer buildings in the neighborhood that sell well over $5,000 a square foot. Despite the property's desirable location for foreign governments, the price per square foot is also by far below the $2,600 a square foot spent by other foreign governments I mentioned earlier. In fact, the government of Canada paid just below the average of a standard New York condo, which is currently at $1,764 for the second quarter of 2024, actually, per Jonathan Miller and his company Miller Samuel. In conclusion, it is our professional opinion that the Government of Canada, based on the criteria presented, the quality and final purchase price of their new official residence, has secured an asset that will serve the country of Canada for years to come, both fiscally and functionally. A savvy investment procured in a well-run process by a diligent team in Ottawa. We present our gratitude for the chance to participate in the process and to bear witness here today. Thank you.
So this guy is saying, but wait, you guys got a killer deal. And let's just grant the fact that that's true. Let's just say that's true. It doesn't matter. What matters is the optics of purchasing a $9 million condo for one guy who's Trudeau's friend, when you have people living in tents, you have a 25% poverty rate, 1 in 4 Canadians going to be using a food bank in the fall, and you have a housing crisis. That's what matters here. Not that you got a deal. And never mind the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have the money to be spending on this right now because we have $1.3 trillion in debt and $40 billion a year in debt servicing costs. As per Chrystia Freeland, this would be equivalent to the Disney Plus membership.
Yeah, like Franco told us that we're paying, what, $1 billion a week?
Yes.
In debt servicing costs?
Something like that, yeah.
That's insane. Think of all the things that $1 billion a week could buy citizens of this country. Like, think of all the programs like healthcare. You know, you probably could afford healthcare, dental care, a school food program, like all these things that the Liberals want. You could probably afford it if we were not servicing this debt.
Well, and here's the other thing. You wouldn't need a food program. You wouldn't need all of this other stuff because you would have money in your pocket.
For themselves,
yeah.
Right.
Anyhow, so we have Kenzie Kraken with a $20 super chat. The optics are bad, yes, but $9 million is nothing compared to $15 billion investment in failing EV battery markets or $5 billion to the Philippines for climate change. Billions to Ukraine, asylum hotels, making a fortune from government contracts. Focus. It's everything. All of these things adds up, right? So, you know, because by that logic, why are we caring about juicy strategies? Why are we caring?
Well, I care about anything, right?
Yeah. So, but you have to look at it all. This is not a one
or the other.
This is a systemic problem with this government.
It displays a pattern.
And you have to look at it in totality. Whether it's $1 billion, whether it's $1 million, whether it's 100,000.
Whether it's a $16 glass of orange juice, you know, it's all a pattern.
Neil McLean with 10 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very, very much for that. And Warren the Predator with a $2.79 super chat. Just looked up. His average rate in New York is 5.38%. Wow. Oof. So it is different down there. Lady Loves Cats with a $10 super chat. Oh my God, Brock and Barrett are going to run this guy over.
Can't wait.
And Women Hauling Oversize, good to see you. I smell BS with this guy. Okay, so I'm not the only one.
Well, like I said, I think he does not have a reason to lie, but it remains to be seen, right?
Okay, sounds like we're going to get into it, and if we're going with what's traditional, then Mr. Barrett's going to be up first.
Thank you, sir. We'll start our 6-minute round with Mr. Barrett. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate your comments at the opening of the meeting. It's interesting to hear that we've had a change of heart by Justin Trudeau's $9 million man, Tom Clark, and that he is now, after having previously said he would appear, and then saying he wouldn't appear, and then saying that he was on leave, and then when his office was contacted by media, they were told that he was in fact in office, now saying that he is willing to meet. So we have very disingenuous at best responses from Mr. Clark. It raises all kinds of questions about who the direction came from for Mr. Clark not to appear as he had originally committed to this week. And this is, you know, of course, in the context of a $9 million residence on Billionaires Row that is going to serve one person and duplicate existing space that the Office of Canada's representative in New York already has. And we heard from Trudeau government officials last week that they were incredibly proud of the $9 million Billionaires Row accommodations that they got for Justin Trudeau's pal, and said it never occurred to them. It never occurred to them that it would be optically bad to spend $9 million on a place on Billionaires Row for a member of the liberal elite, which I think that response, they're being unaware how out of touch this was, says everything you need to know after 9 years of Justin Trudeau and his NDP Liberal government.
And he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it there, because as we kind of talked about before, some people, when they are in these positions and they're quote unquote spending money, they don't even really think of it as money. They think of it as like a monopoly game, because it's not their money to spend.
Right.
And
it's kind of like a kid with a trust fund, right? He didn't earn it. So he has no idea what the value of a dollar is. He goes and crashes his Ferrari. Daddy will just buy him a new one, you know?
Well, because the money never runs out.
Right. Right.
So
that's exactly how the Liberal government has been treating our tax dollars.
Well, and when the money does run out, what do? They just go and print more, and that's why we're in the issue that we're in Canada. So before we get going, we have Debbie Clark with a $2 super chat. He is one step above a car salesman. Do you think he's above? You think? And Women Hauling Oversized with a $2.79 super chat. He's a slippery salesman. Miss Mary, member for 5 months. I look forward to all your videos. Thanks so much for what you do. You have motivated me to send many emails to our government. Excellent. That's what we want to see here.
That's what we love to hear. Thank you.
Mr. Clark had agreed to come to be here today, and he backed out, and now he's saying he will come on one of those dates. I will say, Chair, that let's preempt the conversation we'll have on the date that's selected, that if Mr. Clark doesn't come on that date, that he'll have exhausted every reasonable courtesy that this committee could extend him, and that as the motion did pass unanimously for him to be here, that he must be summoned, because he will be in defiance of this committee's wishes. It's unanimous wish. And of course, will have demonstrated himself to, again, not tell the truth, just like he did yesterday when he said he was on leave, but in fact was not. So we'll wait and see. But it's clear that this is an effort by the government to try and delay and distract from this latest $9 million scandal.
I agree. It's reasonable. I'm not saying this is the motivation, but it's reasonable to infer from this that they're just trying to push this on until Parliament's back, and then it gets lost.
Yeah, because once Parliament's back in session, the Liberals are going to be trying to push legislation through the House, because this is really their final year, right? I mean, they've got the fall session, and then they've got the spring session when they come back in January/February, whenever it is. And then after that, they're really going to be in election mode. Like, there's not going to be much that they can get done between September of 2025 and when we go to election in October. And that's assuming that we go the full term.
And we have Carlo Peters with a 149 super something. I don't even know what it is, but it looks like a diamond. So thank you very much for that contribution, Carlo. Very much appreciated. And Jilly Beans with a $5 super chat. Clark got shown what happened to Firth when he decided to play stupid games. Firth won a stupid prize. Clark didn't want to win a stupid prize.
Yeah, Firth won the stupid prize and Clark got the condo, I guess.
Firth won the stupid prize. Like the Olympic gold medal of stupid is what Christian Firth won prior to the Olympic Games even opening.
So I have a question for our witnesses. In as brief an answer as possible, is Midtown East appropriate for representational space for a G20 country in your estimation?
Hi, thank you for the question. The quick answer is yes, it is. About 95% of the consulates in New York City are located in this neighborhood or just abutting this neighborhood. There's about 136 consulates and all but 7 are located there.
And to the other witness, sir, do you agree?
Yes, I agree 100%. The Midtown East and the Midtown Corridor in general, all of the examples we mentioned earlier in our opening remarks are based in that area, within about 15 minutes from the UN.
Okay, and just for my understanding, 466 Lexington Avenue is in that area. Just an audible yes would be, or no. You indicated yes, sir?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So that's where the Consulate General of Canada in New York is located, is there. And so when we talk about the space that G20 and G7 countries have, we have space there. We have it in that key space. We have space that in 2018, the government of Canada, financed by the taxes of Canadians, paid for upgraded space, representational space, meeting space, where meals could be served, events could be held, and meetings could be had at that address, at 466 Lexington Avenue on the 20th floor. But what we have now is a $9 million condo, and that condo is supposed to replace another condo that the government of Canada had procured. So my question is, what increased value will Canadian taxpayers get by having a duplicate, having a second location that's in a desirable neighborhood? Obviously, other countries are spending big sums of money. I'm not accountable to their taxpayers. I'm accountable to Canadians, as is this Liberal government. What is the increased value that we get by having a second space?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. While I can't speak to the value of a second space versus a first space, it is my understanding that there is an office space and a residence space, and that the residence space generally has a facilities requirement as well to be performing as a mission asset. And so needing that space sounds like the right choice for the government of Canada. The initial
just quickly, sir, what was your commission on this sale? Just the number, if you could.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the question. The commission was pre-negotiated as part of the RFP process with the government of Canada.
And what was the number, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The commission that is received by agents during any sales process is always received by the selling party, not by the buyer's side. So the seller's party paid out a commission of 4% of the transactional value to our firm.
Thank you.
4%.
So his commission was 4%, if I heard that right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Holy
that's
moly.
almost double what your estimate was.
Yeah.
Let's get a proper...
He made $344,000. Now, he didn't get all of it.
No.
His real estate firm got some of that, but holy
and taxes
moly.
and whatever, but like still... Holy smokes. That's more than the average cost of a home out in...
New Brunswick.
I was going to say New Brunswick. It was Jenica Atwin's writing. Because
it was like 200
she gave us that stat the other day.
Man, oh man. Okay. Kenzie Kraken with a $5 super chat. Spending days on specific and relatively small possible corruption, while important, is not where the problem lies. They are merely symptoms. Well, go start your own YouTube channel and feel free to explore the topics that you wish.
Our focus has and always will be Parliament, and of course, by extension, what the MPs are up to. Every now and then we'll stray into Senate. Every now and then we'll stray into public news topics. But Parliament is our focus, and so that's where we continue to focus our efforts.
And by spending these days on these individual issues, we can then talk about the totality of the issue. There are significant problems with government process. There's significant problems with the delegation authority. There are significant problems with the ministerial interactions or non-interactions with these agencies. There's significant problems with the lack of accountability for these ministers for their agencies. So there's a lot of different pieces to this pie, But these, I would say, symptoms, as you call it, we have to pull the thread and see where that thread leads. Because, while it may not seem like a massive scandal, it's a symptom of a systemic problem in this government that can be transferable from agency to agency, as we've seen. So that's the way we operate, and that's the way we'll continue to operate. Fierce Philly with a member comment for 4 months. Love you guys and all your hard work and research. Much love from Dawson City, Yukon. Thank you very much for that. And shout out to all those folks up in Yukon. Heartsinger with a $5 super chat. Albo is condescending. That's the trigger I get. The smiling, gaslighting twinkle in his eye. Entitled, out of touch, must be liberal. And Goko Dining with a $2 super chat. 9 million. The building has a helipad. There you go. And Jilly Beans with a $5 super chat. I just sold my house with a 6% commission for the realtor. Holy!
Wow.
But will be
That's
split
crazy.
with my realtor and the one that represents the buyer. So maybe it's because we haven't been.
We haven't sold a house or anything in it's 5 years now.
Yeah, because it used to be between 4 and 5%. I wonder if that's inflation, but it shouldn't matter.
I don't know.
It
That's
shouldn't
a
matter.
lot.
In our area, it's between 4 and 5%.
Yeah.
And when the market's slow, it can get down to 3-5. So
Yeah, because they're all competing against each other. So whoever has the lowest.
That's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Warren the Predator with a 279 super chat. LOL. Told you. Great stuff, guys. Okay.
Mr. Barrett, Mr. Kusmierczyk, please go ahead for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And every time now I hear conservative colleagues like Mr. Barrett speak, I'm reminded of the fact they made a video recently called Canada Our Home, in which they badly manipulated the truth and badly manipulated Canadians. And in that same tradition, I see Mr. Barrett.
Really? Okay. I assume what he's talking about, and we thought about doing a video on this, but this was not really worth doing a video on. So if this is the same thing that I'm thinking of, this was a video that the Conservative Party put out, and they had stupidly, and I will say stupidly, used stock footage of Russian jets. And I think the person who was putting the content together, and this isn't going to be an MP, this isn't going to be a staffer, this is going to be an editor somewhere. They had mistaken the aircraft and the location in the stock footage for Canada, but it was actually Russian footage that they actually inserted in there, and then they were called out on it, and off you go. Now, I haven't seen the rest of this video, so if that's what he's talking about, that's a pretty bad false analogy. If he's trying to bring that in here, wouldn't surprise me, considering Kusmierczyk's history of whining. So that's what that is about. If that's what he's referring to, but. We'll see what else he has to say. Timothy Kennedy with a $10 super chat. The best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. The same principle works at investigating government corruption, and you have to. Same thing. You can't boil the ocean, right? You have to boil one pot at a time. So that's an excellent analogy, Timothy.
Well, and again, you and I are just two people. We can only focus on so much.
We don't have a staff.
No, we don't.
We are the staff.
Literally everything except for the moderation, where we have Jester and Barnaby, and the moderation on our Discord channel, where we have Pandemonium and Commander Shepard. But 100% of the research, 100% of the recording, 100% of all the fun equipment stuff that we're always screwing up, 100% of the editing is just the two of us, and we can only cover so much in a day. But you know what? That's why there's other news agencies, there's other YouTubers, there's other sources of information as well. We are just one cog in the machine.
There you go.
Characterizing the communication between Mr. Tom Clark and the clerk. And so I wanted, through you, Mr. Chair, I wanted to ask the clerk to clarify and confirm that Mr. Tom Clark, from the beginning, was open to meeting with the committee, but simply was not available on August 27th and was looking for an alternate date. Can the clerk, through you, Mr. Chair, kindly confirm that for the record? what that original correspondence was from Mr. Clark, or excuse me, from GAC.
Well, the original email that I received on motion was July 24th. August 8th, there was email that stated, in Mark Olivier, MOG, our clerk's absence, to inform you that Tom Clark, Consul General of Canada in New York, would be available to appear on Tuesday, August 27th, 2024.
There you
GAC
go.
is waiting for official invitation to be sent to them. So that was on August 8th. We received an email from the clerk de jure, as I jokingly call it, because MOG is away on vacation, that Mr. Clark, or Global Affairs, confirmed that he would appear on the 27th.
How do you like them apples, Kusmierczyk?
Whoops.
So Kusmierczyk's like, oh, well, you know, that's not actually how it happened. And this is the problem. The Liberals don't do any due diligence
No, they
in
don't.
anything that they do.
No, well, they're just hoping that, you know, the Conservatives or the chair won't have the receipts. They're hoping that, you know, what they say won't be refuted.
And I wonder how hard Macaulay is trying not to smile in this case as he, you know, completely obliterates Kusmierczyk. Leslie Robbins, member for 6 months. Hello, Cypher and Fox. Thanks for all the great information and keep up the great work from Kingston and Thousand Islands. Oh, you have Mr. Barrett as your... it depends. If you're in Kingston, you could have Garrettson.
Ew.
But if you're in the Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes area, then you
it
would have
could be
Barrett.
Barrett,
So,
yeah.
oh, that's like two extremes. So I hope you're...
Either really awesome MP or not.
One way or another, it sounds like you're going to have a blue MP after the next election.
True.
Canadian Crusader 1982. I reek. Eric is my pathetic excuse of an MP. Apologies from Windsor, Essex. Don't worry, he won't be back in committees ever again after the next election.
Nice. I am almost positive last time I looked at your riding it was blue, so let's hope it stays that way.
And Jim V, member for 10 months. Thomas couldn't drop $200 for a good set of headphones. Mike, those curly wires are bugging me, right?
So they're only permitted to use certain sets, like headsets, when they go to committee. If you go to the committee website, there's actually a list of maybe 4 or 5, I want to say. And those are the only ones that they are permitted to use. So I don't know why the cords are so curly, but
because he just like, pulled them out of the package.
Yeah, probably. But they are like parliamentary required headphones. And just so everybody knows, you can submit a receipt for up to $250 for reimbursement if you have to purchase a headset for committee. And of course, that gets billed to the taxpayer.
So all of you folks out there that get summoned to committee, don't forget that. And Nilek with a $2 super chat. Maybe Liberals don't study so they can lie easier. Plausible deniability? Maybe.
Then on the 24th, we received information that he would not be appearing. And then yesterday... there was a bit of convoluted back and forth between the clerk and GAC. At the end, it came out, wait till September 3rd, we will discuss a new date. And then this morning, we received confirmation Mr. Clark would be available on the 4th or the 12th of September.
So, but as I understand it, because I've seen various comments on social media and elsewhere, Mr. Clark, through GAC, was working with our committee to find a time to appear at this committee. Is that correct?
The email I received from the clerk on the 8th said GAC had confirmed his appearance. On the 24th, they withdrew it. And then yesterday was, we'll see. Then it was when he's back September 3rd, we'll find a date. Then this morning, we received confirmation of available dates. So it appears that it did confirm they're not available. Now, this morning, are 2 dates made available.
So in Kusmierczyk's mind, well, it sounds like he was working, with committee the whole time. Well, like he confirmed, and then at the last minute said, "No, I'm not available." Like, come on. And here's the thing. Not sure if you missed it, but so one of the reasons he was allegedly not available is he was on leave. Well, when the media contacted Tom Clark's office and spoke to one of his staffers there, they said, "Oh yeah, he's here in the office." Oops. He's probably fired. Or maybe didn't get the TPS report. And didn't know that he wasn't supposed to cover for the consular general who's paid for by the Canadian taxpayer.
What would you say you do here?
So, yeah. War on the Predator, 279 Super Chat, Liberals, open mouth, insert foot, right? So, but it's just funny that Kusmierczyk is trying to, like, smooth this stuff over. And due to the $5 Super Chat, at this point, seeing the Liberals is like seeing a child trying to get themselves out of trouble with lies, even though they are covered in the mess. Or like a dog that has, like, completely torn apart, you know, your living room, and you come home and the dog's like, "I didn't do it," even though he's the only dog.
It was the cat.
Yeah, the cat that you don't have.
Yes, he's made himself available to this committee to appear. I wanted to get that on the record. I wanted to ask our witnesses here today, the listing price for the unit was 9.3 million Canadian. The government paid 8.84 million Canadian, which is $500,000 off the price. Can I ask how we were able to knock that price down?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the question. The unit itself is located in the landmark portion of the Steinway factory building, a building that dates back about 100 years. And the development had originally seen some relatively high pricing and hadn't been selling at the pace they were looking to sell. So they were starting to reduce the pricing, which brought the pricing of the unit into the scope of parameters that the government of Canada was seeking to stay within. At that point, the unit that was selected by the client was the last remaining residence in this landmark tower, and as such, for the developer would be considered a success if they were able to dispose of the last remaining unit. So they were friendly to the negotiation position that we took for the government of Canada.
I'm looking at, you had visited 21 properties, as I understand, were actually looked at. It started as 39 properties, went down to 21 properties that were looked at. The value or the price varied between $8 million and $21 million. The Canadian government chose pretty much the lowest price property. Do you feel this was a good deal for Canadians and taxpayers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the question. As per my opening remarks, we believe, as real estate agents, that this was a very attractive end price for a very attractive asset in a rarefied part of the city that is, per Mr. Miller's commentary, frequented by 95% of the government dignitaries from other foreign organizations.
Again, I love the spin here. So, you were looking at a Lamborghini and you were looking at a Ferrari, but you were fiscally responsible, went with the lowest price car, right? We went with the Ferrari at, $1 million versus the Lamborghini that was, upwards of $3 to $4 million.
Like, there's no words. It's so ridiculous.
The tone deafness is deafening.
Well, again, these guys are just, like, entitled. They think they deserve it. They think that they deserve to have it and that taxpayers should pay for it.
Well, and just because it is the lowest price on Billionaires Row, or in that building on Billionaires Row, they're trying to say, see, we were fiscally responsible. We only spent $8.6 million, never mind the fact that some Canadians can only afford a $29.99 tent.
Yeah.
Like, it's just disgusting.
Yeah, it's not only tone deaf, I think it's disrespectful as well.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
The government of Canada was able to secure the asset well below the average price that other foreign governments pay for their assets. So it's our estimation that it was a very attractive price.
Mr. Abo, do you expect, in your experience, do you expect the value of this property to go up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the question. We can't speculate, but we can certainly say that the Steinway building, as an example, is considered by many in the industry as one of the finest examples of modern architecture. They're certainly not going to be building many more of them, and there is only limited amount of space there. It is a prime location, so given that real estate is primarily around location and space and availability, we believe it will substantially increase in price over the years.
And
I'm sorry, we are past our time, Mr. Kusmierczyk. Mrs. Vignola, please go ahead.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, Mr. Miller, Mr. Eibel. Mr. Miller.
These sound guys, man.
When we talk about the median price in New York, and that price is equivalent to $1.6 million, that means that there are 50% of properties that are under that value and 50% that are above that value of $1.6 million. Let's take the median price of $1.6 million. What can a buyer aspire to purchase for $1.6 million in Manhattan? Where can he buy this property? Is it going to be well located?
Hello.
Mr. Miller?
Mr. Miller.
There's no translation coming into my headset.
Ah, ça va bien.
I would say it, but I'm not going to do that myself.
Mr. Miller, there is a lower down on Zoom. There is a, you'll see, I think it shows a planet. You can click on that. That'll do the translation. And I apologize. We should have done that in advance for both of you.
I just love Vignola. Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
You found it?
Well, it's so frustrating, and you say it the first time, right? Like Vignola says it the first time, and you put your passion into it, and you're really into the question, and then you're told like, I can't hear it. It completely derails everything. It derails your train of thought.
I bet she wants to throw her glasses at the screen, and it's justifiable.
Right. But I mean, it's happened to us before where we've done something, and then we've gone to view the recording, and then it's like, oh, great, the sound didn't pick up.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, let me tell you, folks.
Let's record a 20-minute video again from the top.
Oh, there's been... It doesn't happen anymore, but it happened
Knock on wood, please.
It's been like probably 9 months since the last one. But yeah, we got done, and like it just, the sound didn't work, and it was partly to do with the puppets, and yeah, it
takes the wind out of your sails.
Oh, completely, and then you have to try and re-record, and make it just as engaging and entertaining. And you're just like, oh, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. But anyway, I love her humor at the end. Yeah, I'm not getting a translation. Oh, that's great. Louise A. King with a $20 super chat. Every time Kusmierczyk speaks, my ineptometer goes off. Probably broken at this point. Trenty32 with a $5 super chat. Hi, Ron and Tanya. Here in Kingston, I have the unfortunate circumstance of having Mr. Garrettson as our MP.
Oh, no. Our condolences.
Absolutely useless.
Oh, yeah. Man, that's rough. I'm sorry.
Timothy Kennedy with a $5 super chat. Price limits were set to just below the parliamentary approval. No coincidences there, right?
Right, and we were talking about this, I think, on Sunday, where we said, they review the parliamentary budget for the housing or whatever for GAC.
Their delegation limits as well.
Yeah, they review it every 4 years, and the last time they raised it was in, what did they say, 2006? So 4 years, it would have been 2010, 2014, 2018, and then 2022 is the year they're like, oh, we need to more than double it this time. We've said no the last few years, but this time we need to double it. Like, this is
Well, and they tried to pass it off as, oh, well, it's just inflation. No.
It's too convenient, you know?
I know agencies that have applied for greater funding just based off of inflation. They were told flat out no. And it was far less than that, let me tell you. Wifer for Life with a $5 super chat. This has been bugging me for a while. Do witnesses have to say thank you for the question, Mr. Chair, or are they saying this to stretch time? I think it's polite, but I also think it is also to stretch time.
Yeah, I think it's good form, but they don't necessarily have to.
And I think that's everything. Want to make sure I didn't miss anything from our fine folks out there. And it looks like we're good to go. All right.
Yes, and that's your time, Mrs. Vignola. Sorry. We'll start from the.
Oh, he's just screwing around.
He's just messing around with her.
Okay, I missed that. I was reading something.
That's Kelly's humor there.
He does have a great sense of humor.
And that's your time. Sucks to be you. Well played.
We'll start from the beginning. Can you restart your question, Mrs. Vignola, please?
Oui, bien sûr.
Of course. The median price in New York is $1.6 million, which means that 50% of properties are sold for less than $1.6 million and 50% are sold for more than $1.6 million. What does $1.6 million, Mr. Miller, get you in New York? And is that would that building be located close to UN headquarters?
I'm sorry.
If Mr. Miller is unable to hear the question, I might be able to answer it.
S'il vous plaît, Monsieur Abel.
Yes, please, Mr. Abel.
Thank you. So, if I understand the question correctly, you're saying that the average price of an apartment in New York City is $1.6 million, meaning 50% less than median price, and 50% more cost more. And the question was, in what areas can you purchase such an apartment? And I think the answer, simply put, is you can purchase an apartment in pretty much every area for $1.6 million. That's a meaningful amount of money. However, once you start adding certain requirements to that apartment, you will certainly dwindle down the number of units depending on what area you're looking in. Mr. Miller's firm has a number of studies that can actually tell you exactly how much apartment per square foot you can get in each neighborhood in New York City. And I'm sure he'd be happy to share that with you.
Et à 1,6 million de dollars.
And for $1.6 million, well, what can that get you? What can you get in Midtown? Is it possible to get something in Midtown? And what would you get with it? Would that be appropriate for the consul's needs?
Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I figured out the translation. 1.6 million US in Midtown would get you probably a studio apartment, which sounds like would not be adequate for the needs of the consulate.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abel, Mr. Miller, you can chime in if you want to. In the description of the building and the unit, there are luxury aspects, for example, the type of walls, the type of floors, the amenities, the fridge, the stove. If these luxury elements were not included in the unit, would the apartment, without all the marble and expensive amenities, would that apartment still be sold at the $6 million US figure?
And the answer should be no. No, it would not. Because you don't just buy the apartment at $6 million and then everything in there is free. So, So I'm very interested to hear the answer to this question right here. But it's interesting that he says, "Oh, $1.6 million, that'll get you a studio apartment." Like, that's redonkulous. Like, who can afford that? And if you have $1.6 million to just blow on an apartment, why would you be using that to buy a studio apartment? And the answer is you wouldn't. So who's buying this? That's the question I want to know. Carol Rome with the $5 super chat. Its value will go up. Great. Pierre can sell it next year.
It wasn't it Barrett who made the joke that Tom Clark's going to enjoy that apartment until the day after the next federal election?
Yes. Well,
brilliant.
Here's the thing, and the Conservatives better be very careful with how far they take this, because the way the trajectory that they're on, Canadians would be expecting you to sell this apartment when you come into government. What happens if they keep it?
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, what happens if the value just goes through the floor? Like, you don't want to sell at a loss.
No, but let's just say it stays at its current value. What happens if they say, well, we'll keep it for our consular general? That's not a good look.
No, it's not. So
this is one of those things that the Conservatives have to be careful about going so hard. They better sell this. And the next portion of this is they keep pointing to this other space that was purchased and renovated by Global Affairs Canada to host events, and Barrett has referred to it in this committee. So I would be expecting the Conservatives to be spending maybe $3 or $4 million on a regular apartment, not one that is to have events held at it. And then the Consular General should be having all of his meetings and events at this other space. That's what we would be expecting based on the Conservative narrative. So they better be careful where they're taking this, and they better follow through. Jason Barrett, are you Michael Barrett's brother? With a $10 super chat. Thank goodness for Barrett and Brock. Their fortitude is hard as a rock. With common sense as a basis, they sniff out crap from all places, which is generally from a lib NDP crock.
Very nice. That was brilliant.
I had a feeling this was a poem partway through.
That was awesome.
And Warren the Predator with a $28 super chat. Hey guys, your NP shows are so entertaining, even better than stand-up comedy. So I have decided to show my appreciation by making something in 3D modeling and send it to you digitally via email. Thank you for all the laughs.
Awesome. That's cool.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
Is it me with hair? That would be great. Anyway, back to here.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. The answer would be no. That the value of the property is the essentially sum total of the amenities that go into it. So the quality of the construction would be inherent in the value of the property.
OK. Donc, la même grandeur.
I understand. So the same size without those benefits would be a little less expensive, but less attractive for buyers.
Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. That is correct.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bachrach, over to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to both of our witnesses for appearing and helping us understand the context in which this transaction took place a little bit better. The one thing that stood out to me was the price drop from 10.7, or sorry, the asking price, the drop in asking price from 10.7 million to 6.9 million. And I'm just wondering if that's something that is usually seen. Is that out of the ordinary? It seems like a fairly significant drop in asking price.
Thank you for the question. I'll chime in and maybe Mr. Miller will add at the end. It is fairly unusual to watch any type of real estate asset priced at one end and then reduced down to 40% without selling at that same time. There was a very specific dynamic taking place in that area, and actually, especially with that building, there was a transition in ownership, and there was a desire by the new owners to, in essence, transact. And so that willingness to transact turned out to be the benefit of the government of Canada.
Okay, thanks for that. Mr. Miller, do you agree?
Thank you for the question. Yes, I do.
Okay. Looking at the appraisal that was done for the condo that was purchased, the appraiser notes cautious optimism when it comes to the long-term health of the Central Park South real estate market. It says, quote, "The neighborhood's enduring popularity and limited new inventory are likely to sustain long-term residential demand." Is that a view that both of you gentlemen share?
I'll thank you for the question. Yes, it is that there is a distinct difference in the condo versus co-op market. The Midtown neighborhood has seen it's essentially the central business district of Manhattan, and it has seen an influx of residential condo development, which is thought to be in the long run, we're expecting price growth going forward.
So just on the surface, it would seem that this is a reasonable investment if you're just looking at the chance that this property appreciates over, the years or decades that the government of Canada holds it.
Thank you for the question. I can't speak to whether or not it's a good investment. I can speak to the market conditions, and the market conditions suggest, and as we have seen for the past decade, that the condominium market has a more of a potential upside direction over the long term than the existing co-op market, which currently outnumbers condominiums in the market 3-to-1.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Abbo?
I would agree with Mr. Miller's assessment, and thank you for the question. The area is still up and coming in the sense that there is a lot of new development that's has been released now to the market, and that has been more or less adopted by the market. And again, with the continued influx of foreign investment into New York, we anticipate that will continue to grow up. We agree with the appraiser's assessment.
Thanks for that. Now, one of the criteria that led to the conclusion that the former property was no longer suitable had to do with rules imposed by the cooperative in which it was located that constrained GAC's ability to hold events at the property. I'm just curious, you noted that the current property is not located in a co-op. Are there any rules that constrain GAC's use of the property?
Thank you for the question. The rules of a condo building are very different from the rules of a co-op building. One of the reasons, like you said, that the government appeared to have desire to move to the new location. The new location certainly has rules. Every building in New York City, I would imagine anywhere, has rules. We have actually acquired those rules and shared them with the committee, I believe, or they are on their way to you. But it is our understanding that upon review of those rules that they are severely less limiting than what a co-op bar was presenting in the past.
And Mr. Abbo, I don't know if we've gone over this already, but what precisely were the rules that were problematic at the former location?
Thank you for the question. So I can't speak to those rules exactly, as I was not the holder of the apartment, nor restricted by those rules. But in general, co-op boards are more restrictive.
What does that look?
Don't you think that... Okay. I'm just trying to play this out in my head. Don't you think that if the primary reason, and that's what they're hanging their hat on here, the primary reason that they're moving residences is because the rules are problematic and their mythical, $2 million or $2.6 million renovation fund that they didn't even go to market, and they don't even know if it's based on reality, but that's a different piece. Don't you think that the guy that is going to find you the new property should be familiar with the rules of the old property so that he knows what not to look for?
I'm going to say ideally, yeah, but I mean, realtors will say stuff all the time that may or may not be true so that they can make the sale.
Oh, they'll say tons of things.
Right. I mean, I think you and I have firsthand experience with that.
Unfortunately. So it's just, I don't know. That's basically what you're saying. I don't know. But, rules are common.
Well, and the other thing is I don't know if I would expect him to remember what they are this long.
For $300,000, I expect him to remember.
All right.
Just
all right.
But, no, but think of it. Like, it's not like this guy is selling $9 million properties every day. Like, he probably sells a couple properties a year. And this didn't happen too long ago. This is like a month or two ago. So he should have at least known the basics. Maybe he's just saying, hey, not my job to know the rules. You tell me what property you want. It's your job to figure out the rules, client. That's possible too. Takes the plausible deniability aspect of this. So anyway, very, very interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. Hartsinger with a $5 super chat. Midtown Manhattan Airbnb apartment, $350 to $600 US per night. Good rental investment.
Yeah, maybe that's what we can do with that property.
Yeah, turn it into
kick Tom Clark out.
Yeah, turn it into a B&B, right?
It is very focused on a specific type of family and family lifestyle, and not necessarily suitable for a public residence of the sorts of a Mission of Canada.
Now, at the Consular General's property, there are sort of these two separate roles. One, obviously, is this diplomatic role when it comes to entertaining other diplomats and high-profile officials and having events, that sort of thing. The other role is responding to the needs of Canadian citizens, particularly emergency travel requests. Are members of the public, so Canadian citizens who need emergency assistance with travel documents, that sort of thing, are they able to access the new property without any barrier?
Thank you for the question.
I have to interrupt. Just a very brief answer, please.
The condo, the new condo, has very strict security measures and several points of entry that are supervised. And so they would need to be cleared by the residents of the condo in order to access it. But if they were cleared, they certainly could access it.
Okay, Thanks very much. Mr. Bachrach, I'm glad you brought up the issue of the condo rules. Global Affairs actually promised us at our last meeting to have some information back on those rules that day or the very next day. I checked with our clerk yesterday, and they still have not gone back to us. So I'm glad you've brought it up with Global Affairs if you are watching this today. And I assume you have. You owe us those documents. You promised us those documents, or at least a response about it. So I hope you will get to providing it to this valued committee.
They're condo rules. I thought somebody at Global Affairs had them. So wait a minute. So the real estate, the guy who sold or bought the property doesn't know what the rules are. And the two guys at Global Affairs, well, the president of Global Affairs didn't know what the rules were. And the guy that he delegated to in committee, he didn't know what the rules were either. Does anybody know what the rules are at this new place?
Probably not.
And that was a very interesting question that Bachrach asked. Very astute. Sometimes he can be a great MP. in committee. So if somebody needs assistance, a Canadian citizen needs their assistance, can they access the property? And the sounds like the answer is with difficulty. That's what that sounds like to me. Jelly Beans with a $5 super chat. This sounds more and more like they got a new place because Clark saw that other place as beneath him. So far. Brad Cutting with a $7 super chat. It doesn't matter what the rules are. They don't apply to the Liberals. Just ask. Yes, you are bang on that one.
Thank you for that time for a paid announcement. Mr. Brock, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm going to be directing questions to you, Mr. Abo, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I understand that your real estate firm is currently the listing agent of 550 Park Avenue, Unit 12E, the existing Consul General premises. And I also understand that you played a part in the purchase of 57th Street. Is that accurate?
Thank you for the question. That is indeed accurate. We've proceeded in 2 RFP processes, one for the purchase of the new official residence and one for the disposal of existing residence.
Thank you. Just wanted to confirm that. Now, Government of Canada officials, Justin Trudeau's government, Global Affairs, have confirmed that the purchase of West 57 was predicated on the fact that the Park Avenue property required, in essence, over $2 million in renovations. That it was originally purchased in 1961. It had renovations completed in 1982. And it was good enough for 19 previous consul generals, except for Tom Clark, who wanted a different location, and was granted that. Now, I think it's disingenuous, and I think it's actually a lie to Canadians when Justin Trudeau and his government are claiming that this property was essentially a fixer-upper. I think that could be the furthest from the truth, and I'm going to quote from your listing page for Park Avenue.
Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
This is his listing?
Well, yeah. So they're the same realtor that is selling the old property. So they're going to make this property sound amazing.
Oh, this is going to be good.
This is amazing.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
Can't wait.
This is, okay. I'm not going to put anyone through any suspense.
Just press play.
A perfect example of the grand golden age apartments of the 1920s. This masterpiece is full of volume, scale, and ideal circulation. A great room with 11-foot ceilings and large windows that frame exposures to the north and east invite you into the heart of the home, while the adjacent dining room could comfortably host down a dinner of 18. Designed for hospitality, a commercial kitchen and a butler's pantry are further complemented by direct access to a separate staff office and storage room, as well as in-unit laundry, a den library just off the entrance gallery, as well as a powder room complete the northern wing. Along the southern corridor, 4 bedrooms, all with ensuite bathrooms and walk-in closets, and 2 with corner exposures, offer privacy and comfort. With its high ceilings, large windows, herringbone walnut floors, and ample storage throughout, this residence offers the perfect framework for generation living and is truly a space to behold. That, sir, is your listing. That is hardly indicative of a New York City condo adjacent to Billionaires Row that demands $2 million worth of renovations. Would you agree with that?
Oh my gosh, that guy just had his ass handed to him by Brock.
Wow. Wow.
Amazing.
And this is this is what we said. You want $13 million for the dump. But you paid $9 million for the palace. Like, it doesn't make sense.
And did they say it had walnut floors?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I do some woodworking, and walnut is nice. It's like the one of the most expensive, like, domestic woods that I can get at the lumber yard, and it is nice. It's this nice dark color. It's very hard. It's beautiful stuff, and they're saying that's a dump.
Thank you for the question. It is a wonderful residence, and it will serve its owners very well. That has the needs that residence will offer up.
He's nervous.
Yeah.
You can see it.
His voice got a little crackly. Sounds like he hit puberty again. Yeah, he's like, oh crap. Crap.
Well, he's about to get shredded on Parliament TV.
Yeah,
or he did get shredded on Parliament TV.
Mr. Abo, welcome to Larry Brockville.
Oh, man.
Wow. That was almost a Christian Firth moment. Julie Beans with a $2 super chat. Do liberals worry about rules? No, they don't. Hart Singer with a $2 super chat. Oh, Brock, I love you. Yes, what a play.
Right, that was brilliant.
Goko Donnie with a $5 super chat. Greatest lie ever told in our digital world. Agreeing to have to read the EULA. Just saying. Julie Beans with a $2 super chat. Now you need Owen Wilson. Wow, meme. And Timothy Kennedy with a $10 super chat. And it's Brockinator for the T. Oh, there you go. Holy man.
If those needs are no longer met, those residents will probably want to find another.
In your professional opinion, this is not a fixer-upper, is it? Move-in ready.
Opinion, that is not a fixer-upper.
Sir, this is move-in ready luxury, isn't it? In a heritage building.
It is move-in ready. It's a wonderful residence. It's in a heritage building. That is correct.
Correct. Now, did the government offer you any specifics on how they were going to spend $2 million worth of taxpayer dollars for renovations to Park Avenue? Did they offer any details?
We have not received any of that information.
Of course not. Did they even mention it to you? That one of the rationales for looking for a new location adjacent to Central Park in Billionaires Row was because of the $2 million expected to renovate this luxurious condo?
It was shared as part of the criteria, yes.
They shared that with you?
They shared that due renovation costs, it made more sense financially to pursue another residence.
Okay. They also told us at committee that it wasn't accessible. And when I drilled down on the government as to what that meant, they had to widen the entranceway to a bathroom. That could have easily been done on Park Avenue as well, couldn't it?
It is sometimes difficult to do work in co-op buildings, especially. Part of the reason why the cost is so high.
It's not impossible, is it?
Could get done.
It's not impossible, is it? Answer, please.
It is not impossible.
Thank you.
Busted. And give me a break. You think a co-op building is going to have a problem with a tenant wanting to update the accessibility standards of their suite?
No, but it's work. I mean, you and I used to live in a condo, and to do any work
need
in
a
that
permit.
place, yeah, you need a permit. You have to schedule with the office when you can do your renovations, because if your people need the elevators or whatever.
It's not a walk in the park.
Right, but it's possible, and they know it happens.
Yeah, for sure it happens.
Thanks, Mr. Brock. Ms. Damoff, welcome to OGO.
Oh,
Go ahead,
Pam
please,
Damoff.
for 5.
Thank you, Chair, and it's a pleasure to be with you here today. I want to read something from the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations from 1963, and one of the articles says that the role is to further the development of commercial, economic, cultural, and scientific relations between the sending state and the receiving state, and otherwise promoting friendly relations between them in accordance with the provisions of the present convention. So this consulate is responsible for $200 billion a year of business.
I'm sorry, I don't agree. You're pinning to, like, come on, give me a break here. You're saying $200 billion in trade would not happen if Tom Clark wasn't there.
If he didn't have an onyx jeweled bathroom.
Stone tapestries. Like, I'm sorry. Like, where's Jim?
Oh, come on!
I don't buy it. And Canadians don't buy it as well. So, like, the angle that they're taking here is, this is really important, and he needs a really expensive place in order to be able to, show some clout and have people invest. I don't buy it, because it's bull. It is absolute bull.
Yeah.
Like, how about you should have said, you know what? Maybe it wasn't the best idea to buy this right now. Yeah, it was kind of insensitive to what Canadians are going through, but we were able to get a deal on it, and here's the way here's the different ways we tried to mitigate the cost. Like, that's actually the line that the Liberals should be taking here, but we can't do that because that would be admitting we did something wrong, and they can never admit they did everything wrong. Nothing.
No, I mean, I think at this point, 9 years on, they're in too deep. They can't, like, even if they did admit that they did something wrong, it would just look cheap and fake.
Because they're all cheap and fake.
Yeah.
Janice Pollard with a $5 super chat. I think there's a lot more to it, judging by the nearby residents. Sounds more like what real estate guy said. This is the place to be to schmooze. Oh, probably. But it's also, I bet Tom Clark was like, well, I don't want to be embarrassed bringing people back to, like this walnut
place.
floor.
Yeah.
I need marble floor and
Right?
stone tapestries and jeweled onyx bathrooms. I want them to be impressed coming out of my bathroom. I want that to be a conversation piece.
Still, though, how can you look at, like, herringbone walnut floors and go, oh, man, this place is a dump?
This is walnut.
The great thing about hardwood is you sand it down and you refinish it, and it's as good as new.
Yeah. Like, walnut is so last century. Like, don't even.
Its role is to host events that promote Canada and businesses within Canada, and I don't think any of us would sneeze at $200 billion a year of business that's being generated through this consulate for Canada. That's a significant amount of money. And to portray this residence as simply a residence and not a residence and a place of business is misleading. In 2021, we passed the Accessible Canada Act. Now, accessibility in these residences around the world should not have to be legislated. It should be the right thing to do. But the fact is that we need to make these residents accessible to people with disabilities, and to ignore that fact. And I would argue changing a doorway in a heritage building is not as straightforward as the Conservative members would lead people to believe, especially in a condo building. So, the Conservatives bought this, the previous residence under Mr. Diefenbaker in 1961. And
are you serious? You are seriously trying to pin this on the Conservatives. Oh, well, it was the Conservatives' better government. They bought this 60 years ago.
Wow.
That is a whole new level.
You mean when we weren't $1.2 trillion in debt?
That is a whole new level of reach. And Pam Damoff wonders why she gets hate mail.
Okay, don't send hate mail to the MPs, you guys. You can tell them that they're doing a poor job.
When I say hate mail, I mean like the you are unbecoming of an MP.
Yeah, your conduct is unbecoming of a member of parliament or a representative of whatever your constituency happens to be. You can tell them they're doing a bad job without it being hate mail.
And for those of you wondering why are we going through Pam Damoff, I didn't know she said this, but I'm glad we watched this. Invoking Mr. Diefenbaker. Yeah, like, wasn't he the same guy who killed the Avro program?
Yes.
Like,
sadly.
So, like, come on. Jeez. It's a whole new level, folks. A whole new level. Jilly Beans with a $2 super chat. Liberals drink the Delulu lemonade. And Rick Matia with a $20 super chat. Thank you very much. You guys rock. Thank you for the updates. Your content is very informative. Excellent. Thank you very much.
We do what we can.
And Jilly Beans with a $5 super chat. Accessibility upgrades for Liberals. Make the doorways big enough for their oversized egos. Oh, wait. They don't make doorways big enough for that. Yeah, they'd have to take the roof off.
Oddly enough, under two Conservative prime ministers, Prime Minister Mulroney and Prime Minister Harper, they felt the need that it was important to have someone in New York conducting business for Canada. And all of the sudden, they're trying to portray this as a political decision that somehow we're wasting taxpayers' dollars. I would say at $200 billion a year, it's a good deal for Canadians to have someone there who's representing our interests. And I would challenge any Conservative to say why Mr. Mulroney, Mr. Harper, and even Mr. Diefenbaker felt that it was important to have this kind of representation in New York City.
That's not what we're talking about.
No,
she's comparing apples to oranges again.
No, this is awful because she's essentially trying to justify the luxury.
Well, and she's saying like, she's comparing the old condo, which is already bought. It's not costing taxpayers anything in terms of like a purchase fee because it's already been purchased. It's costing taxpayers in terms of like land taxes. It's costing taxpayers in terms of the condo fees and in terms of other upkeep like catering, etc.
Incidentals,
yeah. But it was the Liberals, her Liberal Party, under Trudeau, that went out and bought a new property for $8.6 million. And that money didn't need to be spent.
And didn't even bother to try and sell the old property prior to doing that.
No. And they're like, oh, look at us. We're listing it for 13 point whatever. That money's not in pocket, guys. Well, you could have to cut that in half to sell that place.
But here's the natural rebuttal to what she's saying. Okay, so... Pam Damoff, let's say I agree. The man or the person in New York is the important part. So you're saying that person, that's the person who is important to get this $200 billion from. Okay, so by your logic, the residence isn't important. So with the residence not being important, then you shouldn't have spent $9 million on it, should you?
Oh, I should have said that. She's comparing apples to potatoes. We're going to milk that as long as we can.
Here's the bag of potatoes. A bag of potatoes. Furry Spatula with a $5 super chat. The fact the libs don't understand you can, in fact, renovate a condo tell you all you need to understand about how out of touch they are. 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Bubble Avenue with a $7 super chat. Liberals are so desperate they're dusting off their Ouija boards.
I have a question for Mr. Miller. You have talked about the need for appraisals to be for neutrality in valuations and the need to not have politics involved when you're doing that. I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit, please.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for the question. I'd be happy to. Neutrality in valuation, for example, our firm does a tremendous amount of matrimonial work between parties, and we're actually hired by both parties because we take the neutrality position very seriously. And neutrality essentially means that any appearance of non-neutrality would appear to, the appearance of favoring one party over another is toxic or poison for the credibility of the final valuation. We've found that over our experience that has resulted in much better outcomes for the parties if the person providing the valuation is not influenced or pressured by either party.
And Mr. Abo, just briefly, because I only have a minute left, you went through, and we've heard some of the requirements that the government of Canada needed for this property, including accessibility, but there are many other ones. I suspect that narrows down the availability of residences significantly. I wonder if you could talk about that, and also whether you feel the Government of Canada made a good decision in selling the previous property because it didn't meet those guidelines.
It's not sold
and
yet.
Required significant repairs, and purchasing the property that we did purchase in New York City.
In about 20 seconds.
Thank you for the question. So briefly said, as we talked about earlier, there were 39 properties that we were able to find for consideration in the entire region or sphere of influence that the Canadian government decided to be in. 39. That's not a lot in, tens of thousands of apartments available in the area. So it was not easy to find, but I think they were very successful in their final decision. And when it comes to whether or not it was a wise decision to dispose of the current residents, we believe now is a good time for that, and we're happy to participate in it. So we think both decisions were smart moves driven by criteria already set by the Global Affairs.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, because you're going to be getting you got a commission off of the purchase of the one building, and you're going to be getting a nice fat commission off the selling of the old building. I'm sure you thought that it's a great idea.
Yeah, he's going to be getting a huge commission off that dump.
Let's see how much commission he would make off of the dump.
If it was at the same 4%,
yeah.
Assuming it was the 4% and they sold it for $13 million. Wow, over $500,000, $520,000 to be precise. That's gross. That's your taxpayer dollars, folks. This is hypothetical, though. I don't actually think they're going to sell it for that much. I think they're just counting their chickens or counting their potatoes, as it were.
One sack of potatoes.
Thanks very much. Mrs. Vignola, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Miller. What seems striking here in all of this for people is the figure, or rather the name, Billionaires Row. It's a very striking image, and that's where the apartment is located. I can only imagine there are other places in New York that could be called Billionaires Row. The name might be more attractive. But is there a bit of everything in this area, or it's really an area where there is an immense number of rich people with regard to other areas in New York?
Thank you so much for the question. The answer is, and I believe Mr. Abo mentioned it as well, that there's quite a diverse mix of residential properties in the area. It is primarily a commercial district that has seen an influx of development, especially after the financial crisis, where we saw, really we're talking about 8 or 9
that's him, that's not us.
Super talls that were constructed post stock. Prior to that is not that type of property at all.
Et j'imagine que...
And I imagine that if it was called Crappy Row, nobody would move there, right?
Wow.
Well played, Vignola. Crappy Row.
Yeah, I wonder what that translated from.
Yeah, I was just wondering that. What's French for
I can learn my
crappy?
French cuss words in committee.
Oh my goodness. Oh well, that's great.
Oh man.
Vignola.
She's awesome.
Louise A. King with a $5 super chat. Pam just killed the batteries in my ineptome. Timothy Kennedy with a $5 super chat. In New York, getting approval even for heritage buildings for ADA improvements is fairly easy as compared to mere upgrades for aesthetic purposes.
There we go. We'll take it from Timothy.
Thank you for the question. The phrasing Billionaires Row is a marketing term, something that Manhattan or New York real estate is well known for. It's an aspirational name, but it does not reflect the majority of the housing stock in that location.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Thank you, Mr. Abo. Mr. Chair, I yield the floor.
Thanks very much. Mr. Bachrach, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for Mr. Abo, you were fairly intimately involved in this transaction, advising Global Affairs and, looking at other properties, talking to them about their requirements. At any point, did you have any interaction with Mr. Clark, the Consul General?
I have a feeling this question would come up.
Thank you for the question. During the process of selecting, sourcing, visiting, and reviewing from 39 properties down to 21, down to 4, down to 2, down to 1, I did not meet with anyone from Mr. Clark's office. Once the selection had been made, several individuals from Mission, including Mr. Clark, came to tour the property. As part of, I would believe, a final vetting of some sort, but this was after the decision had already been made that they were going to proceed with that property.
That's before the purchase. That's different than what we heard before.
Yeah, I think so.
I could be misremembering, but I'm almost positive that they said that Mr. Clark was only informed after the purchase was done. Mr. Realtor
sounds like he
here,
went to see the property.
Mr. Realtor is saying that, well, so what he said earlier is that they went through all these properties. By process of elimination, they ended up with this one, and then they decided to start negotiations to purchase it. What he is saying is that Tom Clark and people from his office toured the property after that decision was made, but sounds like prior to the negotiation of the property itself. If that's true, then GAC, intentionally or not, misled committee, and Tom Clark was in fact involved, because as he said, sounds like a final vetting process. Vetting means there's a decision to be made.
Right, because if he's vetting the property, he could walk in there and just be like, no, I don't like it. Find another one.
And I was wondering why he didn't say just no. So that's why he didn't say no. Because Clark came in and vetted it and most likely said, yeah, this'll do.
Yeah, indeed.
That's not good for Trudeau. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, grab your sacks of potatoes because it's going to get hairy.
Oh, all I have is apples.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Pomme de terre.
Okay, thanks for that. And turning to the former property that Global Affairs owns and has listed on the market, are you familiar with that property?
Yes, I am familiar.
And perhaps this is a question for Mr. Miller, who's a little bit less closely tied to these transactions. The property is currently listed at $13 million, a price at which Global Affairs, and the government of Canada would realize a profit. Yet we see with the newly acquired property, the asking price had to be reduced by about 40% before the property sold. Is $13 million a reasonable asking price in your approximation, or would you expect that it would sell for considerably less than that?
Bachrach watched our stream.
Because I have not, as a licensed and certified appraiser, because I have not looked at the specifics of the property, only the market that it sits within, I'm unable to answer your question professionally.
Hey, can you?
What? Excuse me? You better answer the question.
No, but he can't because, okay, he can, right? He very well can, but he won't.
Then your appraisal's meaningless.
Right. He won't because they want it to sell for that. They're not going to say in committee, oh yeah, that property that we have listed for $13 million, it's worth half that, maybe.
Yeah, but then he better say, no, we're confident in that appraisal. We're usually accurate.
So maybe the lie is that he's confident in that appraisal.
But he's not even committing to that. That's the problem.
I think he just doesn't want to say.
No, because I think the other part of that onion is that, well, if I say yes, I'm completely confident, and then it doesn't sell for that, then it makes his whole firm look like a bunch of a-holes.
Yes, and yeah, this is just a mess. And that was an excellent question by Bachrach.
Looks like I may have missed missed one, but I have one to read. Jelly Beans with a $5 super chat. Clark got appointed, then went looking at properties, and then he picked the $9 million one without looking at the old one. It's quite possible. Get back here. We're not done yet.
The wrong meme.
We're not done yet.
Provide any sort of comment on the amount below asking price that properties like this are typically selling for, percentage-wise, or is it all over the map?
So on average, thank you for the question. On average, the Park Avenue market, we're talking somewhere between 5 and 10% below the original ask if it's priced correctly.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have, Mr. Chair. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. Right on time. Mrs. Block, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I will let you know that I will be splitting my time with my colleague, Ms. Kusi. Mr. Abbo, you mentioned in your opening remarks and again in one of your most recent responses that there was an initial list of 39 properties. Can you table that list with the committee and include the locations and prices, please?
Thank you for the question. We'd be happy to.
Thank you very much. And quickly, I'm going to follow up on a couple of lines of questioning by a couple of my colleagues. Mr. Abbo, I thought I heard you say that you were made aware by GAC of the need for renovations, but not to the extent that they have indicated to the committee. Can you tell me what the impact on a unit, on the sale price of a unit would be, knowing that there are significant repairs needed for that?
Thank you for the question. I think the easy way to answer it is that as you tour a new property, depending on the requirements of the buyer, those repairs will either be important or lesser important depending on the final use of the property. In the specific case of 550 Park Avenue, the pricing that has been set went through a very rigorous process that we always apply to any residence that's being posted for sale, and included in that consideration is the potential need for repairs to be decided by the final purchaser, of course.
So really quickly, the price included what GAC had indicated as the need for $2.6 million in repairs. The price set on that unit reflects that?
The price set for the unit reflects that there is a potential for what we call upgrades to the unit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. My first question is for either witness. Do either of the witnesses have knowledge as where the current Canadian representative to the United Nations resides?
I can answer that question. I do have knowledge.
Please go ahead.
Should I share where he resides?
Yeah.
Okay.
Duh.
Is that public information? I'm not sure if...
Well, if it's the same information that I have, it's that he currently resides in the Park Avenue residence of the former the former residence of the same building of the former residence of the Consul General. So this is my understanding, and this is my understanding that it is, and I'm seeing you nod, so that it seems to be you're in agreement that you are. So it's...
Uh-oh. Everybody see where this is going?
Yeah, because you moved away from, was it the UN delegate?
Well, the Consul General.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Consul General is moving away from where the UN delegate is, and apparently we're not buying a new property for the UN delegate, which would have similar requirements. And why is that? Because the UN delegate has a new space that Global Affairs Canada built for them. That's where she's going with this.
Can I just say Stephanie has amazing hair?
She also has an amazing resting bitch face that you don't want to mess with her either. So,
very interesting to me. Does the current Canadian representative to the United Nations have any plans to sell this resident to leave this building and find another residence?
And here you go.
Are you aware of that?
The question. I believe that's a answer best provided by Global Affairs. I am not aware of a current plan to dispose of it.
And there you go.
Interesting. It's just very interesting to me that this previous residence was not good enough for the Consul General, yet somehow it remains good enough for the Canadian representative to the United Nations. There just seems to be some type of disconnect there, that this residence was good enough for one Canadian representative in NYC, but not good enough for the Consul General. Very interesting. Mr. Chair, I'm just going to summarize in saying how very disappointed I am in this government to see value for money for Canadians comparative to the previous Harper government. The previous Harper government sold the Dublin residence for $10 million. We sold the entire Hong Kong mission for $86 million in 2016. We sold McDonald House for $530 million. This was above asking price, unifying two buildings and purchasing the house next to Canada House for a savings of $250 million. And finally, Mr. Chair, I'll note that we listed our Coral Gables, the official residence in Miami, a residence I have visited, for $5.2 million. In closing, Mr. Chair, I'll say, under the previous administration, the Harper government, we sold more than 80 diplomatic properties for more than $720 million. This is the type of value for money that Canadians deserve, and Liberals should come to understand this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Kusi.
That was amazing.
Boom.
Yep. Mic drop. Done.
Boom. And that's the end of committee, folks. Oh no, Jenna Atwin. We're not going to watch Jenna Atwin.
Oh.
No, we're going on the mic drop.
Yeah. Let's end on Stephanie Kuzi's mic drop. You know, we got the opportunity to meet her. We also had an interview with Stephanie Kuzi and Garnet Jennison, Mr. Brock, and Kelly Block. And but we did meet her on our last trip to Ottawa, and she's just such an amazing, sweet person. But I would not want to piss her off.
Well, as they say, the nicest people are usually the ones you want to tick off the least, right?
Right.
So, but
so as long as you're not, embezzling taxpayer dollars, I think you'll be okay.
Well, and this is the thing. Like the Liberals were struggling to justify this, and this is the big problem, because if indeed the Park Avenue building was such a problem, then what you would expect to see is two different properties being purchased. One for the UN person and one for the Consular General.
Right, but you only saw it purchased for the Consul General, who is Trudeau's buddy.
So that's going to be a big problem.
Definitely.
Big problem for that narrative. So we'll see what happens. Sounds like September 4th or September 12th, before Parliament begins, Tom Clark is going to be coming back. So
brilliant.
Man, I see why he didn't want to come today. I really see why he didn't want to come today, because it would have been another hour of them just roasting him. So we're going to keep following this one, folks. But again, this just shows it's not the $9 million. It's partially it, but it's the optics of it. And now what we're seeing is this pins the Liberals in a corner, because even if it isn't, the optics of this and the perception of this is you definitely did buy this for Tom Clark at his request. That's what it looks like. Doesn't really matter if it's true or not now. That's the perception that all of your narrative and all of your lack of explaining is actually showing here. But because you don't want to be honest with Canadians and you don't want to show the receipts and have an open government. Remember Mr. Trudeau saying this is going to be the most transparent government in Canadian history? Maybe he needs to look up the definition of what transparency means, because it doesn't mean opaque as hell. So they've screwed themselves on this. Absolutely screwed themselves. Again, they couldn't manage a ball, you know.
They couldn't manage a one-car parade.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyhow, that's where we're leaving tonight, folks. What a committee. It was a short one, but there was a lot of good information in that.
Yeah, we learned a lot from that one.
And Pam Damoff, oh, she's going to learn a lot after that one. So, but thanks for joining with us tonight. It's a nice early one. Trish Pearl, the $5 Super Chat. Street Easy shows 3 units available at Park Avenue, 7.75, 9.5, and 18.5. 6-bedroom for them. Well, oof. Isn't that interesting? And what the real estate agent will have you believe is, oh, well, we're selling this at a discount, so it should have been $15 million. Okay. Well, if it's a $15 million apartment, why the hell did you go and buy a $9 million apartment? Give me a break. But
and we have a $2 super chat from Jilly Beans. It says, roasted abo, anyone? That was brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, Brock scared the crap out of that man. You saw it. You saw it happen in real time on the screen. And then Kuzi just like went in for the jugular. It's over.
Her eyes went wide and I'm like, something's coming.
That was it. That was the end.
Something's coming. Anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. It's been a lot of fun, and we will...
Oh, I was going to say, make sure you say hi to Barnaby, because he snuck in at the end.
Yeah, he did. So he is here.
Give him a wave. Say hello to Barnaby.
Didn't even
for
offer
us.
anyone any virtual drinks. Way to go. He's obviously not in virtual uniform tonight. So, but anyway, so we'll stick with it, and any other updates we will let you know, folks. But until our next live stream, have a good night, and we'll see you in the comments.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.